What's going on, people? Welcome back to the United Stand. My name is Maud, and we have a new presser from Amorim speaking on the game this weekend against Spurs. I mean, he spoke on a few things. He spoke about his confidence in the team. Obviously, this game against Spurs is a little bit of a... I'm not going to call it revenge, but we do want to win this game, especially because of what happened at the end of last season. So he did speak on the differences between this team compared to the team that did lose the Europa League final. He spoke a little bit on the injuries, not any particular players, but he did speak about what is helping us kind of have less injuries compared to last season. And also, there were a little bit of Ronaldo quotes that came out, obviously, with the video that Ronaldo dropped, and he did respond to those. So make sure you're sending in your super chats for anything that I speak about today. Make sure you're sending your super chats so we can discuss all of those topics and anything that Amorim obviously spoke about in his presser. But look, let's get straight into it, because I really want to discuss a few of these things. The first thing that I want to talk about is on his confidence in this team. Now, he was asked about obviously the recent results, and obviously United have had a little bit of a turnaround. In the last 4 games, we've won 3 and drawn 1, which is amazing considering how we started off the season. And he was asked on how confident he is in this team. And Amorim speaks on, and he says, I think now we are more confident. We believe more that we can win any game, and we prove already that we can win any game. So, I mean, look, there's no reason for Amorim to not be confident, in my opinion. I mean, right now, he is probably at the highest peak or the highest moment of his Man United career. I mean, we haven't actually. I was going to say, I don't think we've been this good, but I just remember we didn't even win back-to-back games before this little streak. So he definitely is in the highest, probably, momentum that he could possibly have so far. So yes, I completely understand why he's super confident, and he should be super confident, because let's be honest, these last run of games have probably been the best games that we played, and like I said, the best results. So I mean, he says that we are more confident, but he also says the last game was tough on us because in some moments we weren't the team that we were supposed to be in every minute, and compare that against Brighton, it was a different thing. Now, when he was speaking on that, he was talking about moments in the game, and you guys will know, as United fans, we always get called Moments FC. Always get called Moments FC, Moments FC. First 10 minutes of the game, we're the best team on the pitch, and then all of a sudden everything kind of capitulates. But he did speak about these moments and how, for a whole game pretty much, we need to be on our A game. We need to be 110%. And sometimes in games we go through little spurts and moments where we are conceding goals. And like I said, he did mention the Brighton game, how we conceded 2 goals in that game. But that is obviously a concern that he has noticed and he has realised. And I mean, hopefully going to the next game, like I said, against Spurs, we can have a more complete game where that full 90 minutes we are playing our best football and we don't drop off and we don't, kind of lose the keys to the game and concede a few cheap and easy goals that we don't need to concede. But like I said, he did acknowledge the last game, and he did try to compare it against Brighton and say, look, it is the same thing. We are conceding goals that we shouldn't be conceding to these teams. But look, still speaking on that, he did say as well, we cannot forget we have a lot to improve. We are more prepared for anything to happen in the game, but we also know that we have a lot to do and improve to win more of these kinds of games and consistently win. Now, one thing I actually like about what he said, and let's be honest, Amorim, when it comes to press conferences, this is like his best attribute, because Amorim just knows how to speak. He knows how to put his words together and kind of just bring confidence back into this team and back into the fan base. But one thing that I actually do like about what he was saying was, he has this belief that in every single game that United play, there is a good chance that we can win. Now, I remember early on in the season, I mean, we were sat on one of these shows, either the build-up show or the forum, and it almost felt like every single game we could lose. That's what the energy kind of felt like early on in the season. Maybe like after maybe after the Grimsby game or after the Brentford game, it almost felt like whoever we play this season, it's going to be a tough game. But I'm just kind of trying to bring that confidence back in to kind of flip the narrative almost that, you know what, it's not a case of every game we could lose. No, it's a case of every single game we have a good chance of winning, regardless of who we play, whether it is a Liverpool, whether it is an Arsenal, whether it's a City or even a Chelsea. We obviously beat Chelsea already this season. Every single game we can win, and he has that belief. And you kind of need that in your manager anyway, to kind of run through the team, run through the squad, run through your leaders in the team, whether it's, Bruno or Maguire, Casemiro. You want that kind of energy and that thought process to kind of run through the players. So then they also believe that every single game they play, they can go and win. You know, even if you do go up against, you know, next time you do play Liverpool, next time we do play Arsenal or City, you know, the games that we have lost against these big teams, we're not going into those games thinking, oh, we're playing City, let's kind of sit back and just hope we don't lose. No, we're going into these games, and this is what Amorim believes, that we're going into these games with the mentality of we can win every single one of these games, which is what I like. That's exactly what we need from our manager. But look, moving forward, one thing that I do actually want to highlight, and this is something that really caught my attention when he mentioned it. He said, "I think we manage the game better now. We can change from the moment we are struggling. Also, because we have players that can change that for us, the individual can help us." Now, the reason why I say this is important because Amorim understands that individual brilliance in this team is super important. Individual players can save a game that seems to be going away from you, or seems to be running away from you. I mean, look at the last game. That Ahmad goal it had nothing to do with tactics. It had nothing to do with a specialised plan that we had be drawn up on the pitch, or a super set piece kind of plan that we had. Now, that was just Ahmad being a really good player and amazing finishing, left foot volley outside the box, and it goes in. That individual brilliance is something that Amorim talks about, and he notices it in his team. Now, the reason why I highlight that is because these kind of things, they come into play during a game. So let's say it's coming up to the 80th minute, or 70th, 80th minute, and it's a difficult game. We might need a goal. We might be drawing. We want to get the win. In the back of Amorim's mind, he is thinking, you know what? There are certain plays on this pitch that I don't want to take off the pitch because they can do something special. I play like a Bruno, a player like Ahmad, a player like Bruno, or even like Cunha. These are plays that can bring some kind of, like I said, individual excellence onto the pitch, where they can create something or they can score a goal that maybe other players on the pitch can't do. And me personally, I think that's part of football. You know, at the end of the day, some players can be better than others, and some players in these kind of moments can pull off something spectacular. And if you have more players in your team that can do that, the better. Because at the end of the day, look at last season, let's be honest. If it wasn't for Bruno, a lot of our games, especially in the Europa League, we probably wouldn't have won. And even in the league as well, Bruno was kind of the main guy when it came to that individual brilliance, that individual kind of being able to create a chance or score a goal. It was really just Bruno that could do that for us last season, and he did kind of save us in a lot of games. But now we have multiple players that can do that. We have, like I mentioned a few of them already, but we've got players that can kind of change a game at any moment. And Amorim obviously acknowledged that in this presser as well. But look, there's so many more things that he spoke on. The next thing I kind of want to go into is the injury record. So we did speak about players that we do have injured. I mean, we didn't speak specifically on any individual player, but he was speaking on why we have injuries and how we can almost avoid them. And he says sometimes you have problems with players with knocks. It's not something. It says it's not something soft tissues, and you never know what's going to happen in the next training. If you can play with intensity in training, anything can happen. Now, that's, before I even move on, that's a bit of a problem there, because when you're almost second guessing or overthinking how hard you can go in training because of how injury prone your players are, you're almost holding yourself back every single training session, because you don't even want to go at 100%. You don't want to have, you know, that super intense training session where you're preparing yourself for a difficult game at the weekend, because you're almost scared that if you put these players in the firing line, they might not even make it to the weekend, which is a problem, because we need that. You know, one of the benefits, and this is something that you did speak on as well, one of the benefits of us having or us not having European football and us not being in every competition is we have more training sessions. We have more opportunities for the team to gel, for the chemistry in the team to build up. We have that time on the training pitch to become a better team altogether. But at the same time, if we're also worried that everyone's going to get injured, it's kind of like we're not pushing ourselves to the limit that we can get to, which means on the match day or on a weekend, we're not 110% at the level that we should be at. Now, hopefully in the future, these players that are injury prone, they kind of prove themselves a little bit more that they can go a full season or a majority of a season without picking up more injuries. I mean, you look at Luke Shaw. Sorry, you look at Luke Shaw, I'm actually very impressed. I'm very, very impressed with the fact that Luke Shaw is still fit, still running up and down the pitch, still making a difference in some of these games. I mean, the last game, arguably is man of the match, in my opinion. I think he had an amazing game last game, and throughout this season, if you guys obviously watch the Fan Forum or watch the build-up shows, he's actually been very, very good, and a lot of people can't really deny how good Luke Shaw has been for us this season. Considering that he was a player that a lot of people were saying, including me, that it is time to move on. He's been there for 11 years or so, and he's had the craziest injury record you could possibly think of. But so far this season, with 10 games into the league, he's not been injured once. And, you got to give him a bit of credit for it because, like I said, Luke Shaw's the kind of player that would get injured very easily. But also, players like Mason Mount, he has been injured already this season, but hopefully from now on, if we can regulate his minutes and make sure that he is rotated properly, that's another player that in the future we can utilise a lot more because he is proven that, if you do play him 5-6 games in a row, he's not just going to break down and crumble. But look, moving on, he also says, but I think the big reason, like I mentioned before, is one game every week. You can have an extra day to the players that could struggle in the next training. So I think that is the big reason. So yeah, like I said before, he's acknowledging that having this one game a week is helping these players be able to recover better, prepare better for the next game. And end of the day, we need them for the match day, so be able to play and start on these match days. And that's why I say, going into next season, if these injury-prone players can actually prove themselves that they are, or they're less injury-prone, then it means we have more options next season, that we don't have to go and buy a whole nother 10 because Mount gets injured, or have to buy another centre back because Luke Shaw keeps getting injured. If they can prove it this season, then it helps us a lot going into next season. But yeah, moving on, he also spoke a lot about the number of goals conceded. Now, let's be honest, we are conceding far too many goals. Beth brought it into the forum for the last Forest game, the amount of goals we conceded. I think we were in the top 10. We were either had the most goals conceded, or we were up there, maybe top 2 most goals conceded in the top 10, which is terrible. We conceded about 16 goals in the league. So Amorim says, it is a problem, especially if you see the league nowadays. The team winning lots of games is not suffering goals or shots on target. And that is a big game, especially when you have talented players. And he's 100% correct. I mean, look at Arsenal. Arguably, they have the best defence in the world. In fact, they do have the best defence in the world. Let's be honest. They've conceded like 3 goals this season. Arsenal's defence is incredible. They have every player that they have in that defence, whether it's Saliba, Timber, Calafiori, Gabriel, obviously he's probably the main guy, David Raya. They all work perfectly defensively, and they gel probably the best way that you could possibly think. There isn't a weak link in their defence. There isn't one player that you look at and think, we can get at him, we can target Saliba, we can target Timber. You're not thinking that, because these are players that can hold their role in every single game. And as well, an important part of the defence is the goalkeeper. People forget that the goalkeeper arguably is the most important player in that defence. If you don't have a solid keeper, it don't matter what your centre-backs can do. If you can shoot from anywhere, it almost puts everyone at jeopardy. So having a great goalkeeper behind that defence also helps. And look, actually spot on. The best teams don't suffer a lot of goals. It almost don't matter how many goals you score. If you concede more, you lose the game regardless. You know what I mean? If you can not concede, you are guaranteed a draw. That's how I look at it. If you just don't concede a goal, you're guaranteed 1 point. So which means for the whole season, I know this is a crazy hypothetical, but if you go 38 games and you just don't score a goal, as long as you don't concede, you're still getting 38 points minimum. You know what I mean? So, because defending is what, I mean, I think Sir Alex Ferguson said that defence wins titles. It is what is the most important thing when it comes to being a talented team. And he speaks about the talented players that we have. I mean, we have a crazy array of attacking players. We've got, I mean, arguably, I'd say since 2021, this is probably the best attack that we've had. I remember that in early 2021, maybe 2020, the Ollie days where we had like Martial, Rashford, Bruno, Greenwood, like these kind of players, Cavani. That was probably a great attack. But now look at the players that we have: Cunha, Mbumo, Sesko, obviously still Bruno's here, Ahmad, even Mason Mount. We've got a great set of talented players, attacking wise, that can get us the goals. What we need to do now is make sure our defence is solid and that we can stop conceding so many shots on target and so many goals at the end of the day. But look, he also says in one opportunity you can score a goal and win the game, but I think it's more of a team thing. We need to defend better, we need to be more aggressive, and we need to defend with more energy. We have a lot to do and cannot suffer the amount of goals we are suffering, which we need to improve. Another great point in the sense of it isn't just the four, or I'm going to say four defenders, the three centre-backs and two wing-backs. One thing that we always mention on the forums is the midfield is also super important in terms of how we defend. I mean, if you can bypass a team's midfield easily, you're putting the defenders in the worst position. I remember when I was younger, not that it matters anyway, but when I was younger, I used to play football, like probably a lot of you guys as well. And one thing that my coach always used to say was, I was a centre-back at one point. Yeah, at one point in my career, I was a centre-back. And my coach always used to say to me, if you have to defend, if you have to go 1v1 with an attacker, that means the players in front of you haven't done their job. Because at the end of the day, the ball shouldn't even really be getting to you to get to the keeper. You should be the second line of the defence. You shouldn't be the first line of defence. It should be difficult for the team to even get to you before they even have a shot. And I always remember that because when I watch football, I always think to myself, if the midfield is really doing their job, the ball shouldn't even have to get to the defence. There should be enough players in front of the ball, so then the defence is just more kind of observing and able to control what's going in front of them. But if a team you're playing against is easily just running through your midfield, easily just passing it through your midfield, and easily just getting to the defenders, it means that the players in front of you aren't doing their job, and it just makes it 10 times more difficult for you to be able to defend. So it's a little bit of insight from, obviously, I used to play at a decent level. No, I'm joking. But yeah, I think we need to be able to defend way better as a team. And obviously, Amorim highlights that in his press conference. Now, before I even move on, because there are some more quotes about the Ronaldo interview, which I'm sure some of you guys have seen it already. And he did speak on Ruben. And I thought it was an interesting interview. I'm not going to get into it now, but I thought it was a really interesting interview. But before I even get into that, I want to do a little bit of a cross promotion. We do have a packed weekend on That's Football and United Stand. As you guys know, tomorrow, actually you might not know this because it is usually today, but tomorrow we have Ben Jacobs, the guy who knows everything. I'm going to keep saying that. I know he hates it when I say that, but he knows everything about transfers. Beth will be talking to Ben Jacobs here at 2 p.m. That is obviously Friday, and she'll be asking him all the questions about potential transfers and just the news around United, whether it's with the ownership or whether it's with I don't know, stadium or whatever it is. Beth is going to be asking all the questions, and Ben Jacobs is going to be coming with all the answers. So that is tomorrow at 2 p.m. But also on Friday, huge game in the Bundesliga, and that will be live on That's Football at 7:30. And remember, this isn't a watch along, this is a live football match. So if you like actually watching football, some of you guys, you enjoy the watch alongs, but you also like watching the game at the same time, and you might have like one screen here and one screen there watching Mark and then watching the game live. But today, well, not today, on Friday, you'll be able to watch both of them together on That's Football. So make sure you're tuning in at 7:30 for that Bundesliga game. Saturday, as you guys know, Spurs versus United, huge game, 12:30 kickoff. I'm not the biggest fan of 12:30 kickoffs, but sometimes that's what happens when you're not playing in Europe, So we have a 12:30 kickoff against Spurs. It's gonna be a huge game. You guys know the history already, the recent history between United and Spurs. I mean, they beat us 4 times last season. We need revenge. We need revenge against Spurs. So 12:30 kickoff. There'll be 10:30 build-up show right here. And then obviously after the game, there'll be a fans forum, so make sure you tune into that. And then Saturday and Sunday, 2 more watch-alongs. Sunderland versus Arsenal on Saturday. That's a 5:30 kickoff. The watch-along will start at 5:15. And on Sunday, Man City versus Liverpool, another huge game. I couldn't tell you who I want to win. I don't think I want anyone to win. I want to draw. That's probably the best result for me. I don't know. I want to draw. I don't want any of them to win. But that will be live at 4:30, and at 4 o'clock there will be the watch along from Mark on That's Football. So make sure you're tuning in to that. Now, moving on. I do want to talk a little bit about this Ronaldo interview. Now, I'm sure some of you guys saw the interview with Piers Morgan, and he did ask him a question on Ruben Amorim. Now, one thing I do want to highlight is I don't know when that interview was recorded. I think that's super important because it could have been recorded before the season started. It could have been recorded right at the start of the season. It could have been recorded 2 weeks ago. We don't actually know when it was recorded, so that does play into kind of his response, because his response might be different right now. You know what I mean? Considering this is after he's obviously Ruben Amorim has done a little bit better. But anyway, so he was asked about obviously Ruben Amorim and the difficulties at United, and we all know what he said in his last interview a few years ago before he actually left. Which was a crazy interview. But anyway, he says, of course, he knows and he has a huge impact in everything he says. What we need to focus on is the future. He's talking about Ronaldo, by the way. I'll say that again. He is referring to what Ronaldo said. And he says, of course, he knows and he has a huge impact in everything he says. What we need to focus on is the future. We know that as a club, made a lot of mistakes in the past, and we are trying to change that. Let's not focus on what happened. Let's not focus on what happened. Let's focus on what we are doing now, and we are doing that. We are changing a lot of things in the structure, the way we do things, and we want the players to behave, and how we want the players to behave. We are doing that and we are improving. So let's continue and forget about the past. Now look, Ruben Amorim clearly isn't trying to, get himself caught up in all of these conversations around Ronaldo and whatnot. I think he understands that, look, Ronaldo he's played with him. They're both Portuguese, obviously, but they both played together. I'm pretty sure anyway, in the Portuguese team. But he understands, look, Ronaldo's voice is loud. Yeah, not literally loud, but when it comes to the world of football, when Ronaldo says something, everyone listens and everyone takes it in. And I think for him, he doesn't really want to kind of buy into everything that Ronaldo's saying, because at the end of the day, he is at a moment of his career where things can turn around, and any kind of negativity doesn't really help him right now. He is trying to see the positive in what's going on at United, and well, recently what's been going on in terms of the results. So I think that's clearly why he's talking about he doesn't want to focus on it, and he doesn't want to focus on the negatives. And I think Ronaldo pretty much was saying that, look, there needs to be more structure in the club. There needs to be more structure in the team, and the mentality. He did speak about the mentality of some of the players, about how that needs to change to be able to go forward. But at the end of the day, that's what Ruben is trying to do. That's what he's trying to improve on. That's what he's trying to fix. And look, it's not going to happen overnight. I understand that I've been critical of Ruben Amorim, a lot on this platform, but I think Ruben kind of understands. Look, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen tomorrow. Might not happen next week. But as long as there is some kind of steps being taken towards that there is some kind of progression towards it. That's all we can control. We can only control the controllables. We can't just expect things to just change out of nowhere. So with Ruben, look, I think he's just not trying to buy into it and talk too much about it. He's just trying to focus on the positives, focus on what's going on in the future, focus on how we can develop. And yeah, hopefully, like I said, going forward, things can change. That structure can be put in place. The proper structure can be put in place. And, trying to bring in or try to influence the players to have the right mentality to go and win, to go and be the best player that they can possibly be. But yeah, that's what he spoke on when it comes to the whole Ronaldo stuff, and yeah, he's pretty much not trying to dwell too much on that. But yeah, that's pretty much what Ruben spoke on. He's very, very positive, very, very. He's looking forward to the Spurs game. Like I said, it is a huge game for him. He does really need to get this win. He can't lose 5 times to Spurs. That is. It's already embarrassing anyway, losing 4 times, but to go and lose again, considering, in my opinion, I understand that Spurs, results-wise, have not been too bad this season, but in my opinion, Spurs are not the team that everyone makes them out to be, and I think they have a lot of weaknesses. If you want to hear more about that, we are going to talk about it on the build-up show, so make sure you are tuning into the build-up show at 10:30 on Saturday. But I personally don't think that Spurs is a team that we should be afraid of. I think we should go there thinking, look, we are the better team, and we can get a very, very good result out of that game. So I agree with Ruben that we can't beat every single team, not every single team, but we can't beat most teams, and we should be going into the Spurs game with a lot of confidence in what we can do. But yeah, look, that is the presser. There is some more news that has come out about Mainoo. Look, when it comes to Mainoo, you know, that's one of my favourite players. And I know people call it Play FC. I don't care. Yeah, Mainoo is one of the players that I just like a lot. But there is some news coming out about Mainoo, and it says that Mainoo, this is per Fabrizio Romano, it says that Mainoo is still open to a January loan with his current limited game time, but it depends on Manchester United's plans. West Ham are interested and are offering regular minutes. Napoli also, who are seeking cover after De Bruyne's injury. That is super interesting, you know. Obviously, I'm just you know, finding out as well. I mean, first of all, I think we already know that Mainoo isn't the most pleased with his minutes and the way he's kind of been managed this season. For a player of his talent, the player of, you know, considering how he came into this team and how his first season went, this definitely wasn't the plan. You know, this definitely what was on the forefront of his mind, or how he expected his career to kind of pan out over the next, you know, couple of years. So I understand completely why he's thinking, I just want to play football. He's a 20-year-old kid, like I said, super talented, super humble as well. Let's be honest. I mean, one of the things that we have noticed a lot with certain United players is that humility. Humility? Is that even a word? Humility, that's crazy. I said humility, that's funny. That humility might not seem to be apparent in nearly every player. Sometimes the ego gets ahead of a lot of these players, especially the younger players at United. But with Mainoo, he seems to have that humility. He seems to still always be respectful. You never see him stropping or talking out online or whatnot. He's just saying, look, I just want to play football. I just want to play football regularly for a team that I can develop in, which is completely understandable. But at the same time, right now as a team, even though we are only playing one game a week, we do have this little thing where if we let go of too many players, we're going to be in trouble. And we've seen that happen nearly every season for the past like 3 years now, where we run out of players in certain positions. Sometimes we run out of defenders. We somehow run out of centre-backs. We're playing Casemiro in centre-back, or we're having to bring Cambuala from the youth team, or even last season we having to play Shea Lacey. Was it Shea Lacey? Or no, Harry Amas was coming into the team because we were short on defenders. So the last thing that we do want is to kind of let so many players go, and all of a sudden now we just run out of players in a particular position. And you look at the midfield, yes, we are starting Casemiro and Bruno, and they're not doing a terrible job, but I mean, all it takes is for one Casemiro red card, or even a Bruno red card. Bruno's got 3 red cards in him, or an injury to one of those players, and all of a sudden it's like, well, who we got available? Who can we even play? You know what I mean? So I can see why United and Amorim are thinking, you know what, even if he isn't having a lot of minutes, we still need Mainoo just in case something happens, just in case, you know, it is later on in the season and, you know, Casemiro might get a bit fatigued, or, you know, maybe one of our 10s might get injured and Bruno has to move into the 10. All of a sudden now we need another player to play in the midfield. There is that caution when it comes to letting players go in January, because we probably would be most likely, or we might need them to kind of fill in a spot. So it is unfortunate. It's not fair. It is unfortunate because as a player, like I said, you do want to play, and it is a World Cup year. Everyone wants to go to America and go to the World Cup and play for their country and be part of a team that could win, especially England. I mean, England haven't won the World Cup in what? Was it 60 years now? I think it's just the 60th year that England haven't. Yeah, 1966. So yeah, so 2026. This is the 60th year that England have gone without winning the World Cup. So everyone who is part of that team or could be part of that team is trying to get into that England squad to be there. So yeah, it is unfortunate. But I mean, looking at the teams that are available, West Ham and Napoli. First of all, Napoli, how many players did he want to do on the team? I feel like Napoli are just that team that just transform players. It's like you might not be struggling, but like your time might be done at your Premier League club. So Napoli are available. If you just want to go to a team in another league, an easier league, and just go and play some fun football and probably enjoy your football a little bit more. Napoli are always that team to go and take a player. They've done it with De Bruyne. His time at City was done. He wanted to go and play some regular football. Obviously now he's injured, which is a bit unfortunate, but he was over there having fun. Højlund has gone out there and enjoyed his football. But Tomine has gone out there and enjoyed football. Lukaku has gone out there and enjoyed football. Even like Billy Gilmore and these kind of players, like a lot of players have come from the Premier League and gone to Napoli and actually done well, to be fair. And Mainoo is another player now that's on that list. And look, I think reality is, I look at him and I think any other team he plays for, he will do well. He'll play good minutes. He'll play probably in a system that suits him a little bit better. He'll be a bit more comfortable in an environment of a team that's probably winning more games. Because naturally, when you're in a team that's winning more games, you're gonna play better. You're gonna be more confident. And I think he'll do very well over there. I'd rather him go to Napoli than West Ham, in my opinion. I don't want to see him at another Premier League team. I'll be honest. I don't want to see that. I'd rather go to Napoli, another country, a whole other environment. Maybe a little bit out of his comfort zone because he's in a whole other country, like I said, playing against different opposition. The speed and tempo of the Serie A is different. I'm not going to say it's faster or slower, but it is different. Champions League football, obviously, probably better competition there. So I do think it would be better for him to go and play for a team like Napoli. But yeah, it will be something that's definitely on his mind, and he will be hoping to kind of get some kind of loan move in January. But anyway, look, that is the presser done. And that is some more little news coming out about potential transfers in January. January isn't far away, by the way. Christmas is literally next month. Christmas is literally next month, and then after that, we're literally a week away from the January transfer window. So a lot more of these conversations are going to be had, and that's why it's important to watch the show tomorrow with Ben Jacobs and Beth at 2 p.m. because he's going to be giving all the insights and all the information around these transfers. Last little promo that I want to do is for the Christmas jumpers. I don't even have one in my hands. They are in the studio somewhere, but I haven't got one in my hands. But you guys, I'm sure. Oh, I think the producer's going to give me one. Throw me the Christmas jumper. There you go. There you go. Thank you to Greg. Oh, I was going to get two then. This is the Christmas jumper. You can see it here live. I don't know if you guys know this design, but obviously this is a very iconic United design with the blue. I always loved the blue kits. I've always liked them. My favourite United kit was a blue, I think 2008 or 2009 kit. I remember Ronaldo had it, but I've always had a thing for United blue kit. So this is the Christmas jumper, great material. I mean, look, we're coming up to the winter months now. You're gonna need something to wrap up in, so make sure you're buying your Christmas jumpers. They are available for pre-order. And get them quickly because at the end of the day, there's not an unlimited amount. There's not an unlimited amount, so you're going to have to get it quickly before they obviously run out. So yeah, make sure you're getting your Christmas jumpers. There will be a link in the description. And yeah, go and pre-order them. But yeah, that's the end of the show. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. That is Amorim's presser and a little bit of news about Mainoo. And I will see you on the build-up show this weekend. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later.